Plasmic echo. That's how the investigation into Trump's handling of classified documents is identified. And that's according to newly released court filings that the judge overseeing the case has allowed for the release of. Now, we also learned through the release of these documents that Trump allegedly tried to persuade a co-defendant to lie to the FBI by promising to pardon him once he's president again following the 2024 presidential election.
Oops.
Number one, I mean, the confidence is pretty incredible, right? Yeah, to just assume you're gonna win, but also telling someone, your co-defendant, to lie, not a good idea. Now, first, here's more info on how the court records came to be, how they were made public in the first place. As I mentioned, the revelations came in the form of a new batch of exhibits that were part of special counsel Jack Smith's response to a Trump motion all the way back in January. The records had initially been attached as sealed exhibits to a motion Trump's lawyers had filed in January asking for additional discovery evidence from the government. But the judge, Aileen Cannon, made the exhibits public after ruling 2 weeks ago that prosecutors could remove from them the names of several potential witnesses to protect their identities and safety. I took a look at those documents and they are very much redacted. Names are absolutely taken out of it. And just to give you some more information about the motion from Trump's lawyers back in January, it was an attempt by Trump's lawyers to persuade the judge to grant them access to communications between prosecutors working on the case and officials at the archives and at national security and intelligence agencies. Now, with that said, the filings or the filing reveals Jack Smith had cooperation from a senior Trump aide, including post-presidency. And that's really the person that we're gonna be focusing on for the purposes of this story, because that Trump aide listed as person 16 disclosed some really interesting details about what was going on in Trump world behind the scenes as it pertains to the classified documents. Cenk.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. Yeah, I think person 16 could change the entire dynamic of this race. Look, I don't know who it is yet, but Trump does, based on a very clear description of who he was interacting with and when he was interacting with them. And knowing Trump, he'll start blabbing in a countdown 3, 2, 1. But there's 2 reasons why person 16 is really important. And that's what we're going to discuss right now.
So let's talk about what person 16 said during interviews with the investigators for this case. So number one, he was apparently terrified to have his interview recorded. Person 16 refused recording of the interview despite being advised that not recording the interview would be anomalous compared to other witness interviews. Person 16 accepted that risk, stating having the interview recorded was a far bigger risk for him in the Trump world. So this individual was terrified of recording this interview specifically because of ramifications coming from the Trump world. Trump apparently dangled a pardon when it came to some of the defendants in this case. Person 16, and this is from the filing itself, person 16 has not spoken to Nauta, meaning the co-defendant in this case. Nauta was an employee of Donald Trump's at Mar-A-Lago who was tasked with basically hiding the files, the classified documents.
He's his bag man.
Exactly, so again, person 16 has not spoken to Nauta since the White House and did not know him. Person 16 was aware that Nauta left the US Navy to join the Trump administration, 45 office. Nauta was told by the former president of the United States' people that the investigation was not going anywhere, that it was politically motivated and much ado about nothing. Nauta was also told that even if he gets charged with lying to the FBI, former president of the United States will pardon him in 2024.
Yeah, so this is one of the big ones. So if they can actually show that in court, that he told Nauta, that's okay, lie to the FBI, I'll pardon you when I get back into office. Oh, that's devastating. So I don't, could a MAGA guy on the jury even then go, I don't care, even though that's the most obvious witness tampering of all time and encouraging someone to lie to the police, etc. I guess a MAGA guy could throw a monkey wrench and say, but any rational jury would think that that evidence was devastating. He's obviously trying to keep him from telling the truth about what actually happened, which was that he wanted to keep the documents. There's a couple more devastating parts of Person 16.
Well, a little more context, because we've actually reported on Nauta earlier, and Nauta is the guy who, in the very beginning of this classified documents case, had a Trump-appointed attorney. And that attorney was apparently leading Nauta astray. And at that point, Nauta realizes, okay, I better get rid of this lawyer and hire my own attorney.
No, not Nauta.
It wasn't Nauta?
No, Nauta is still staying with Trump. It was a Nauta associate, a friend of Nauta's, a really good friend of his that flipped on Nauta and Trump.
Oh,
so Nauta
okay.
still,
Apologies.
if Nauta flips, Trump is in a world of trouble.
Okay, I was gonna say, I thought it was Nauta, which is why I thought Trump is in a world of trouble, but okay, fair enough. That was the other guy. Okay, so erase that from your memory. Let's go to the rest. Let's go to the rest of this document or this filing and what we've learned from it. So Guardian reporter Hugo Lowell has more from the special counsel's filing. He writes that Person 16 warned Trump he could be criminally charged if he didn't return documents, even without grand jury subpoena. Whatever you have, give everything back. Let them come here and get everything, meaning the classified documents. Don't give them a noble reason to indict you, because they will. And in fact, they did. I mean, this really emphasizes a point that drives me crazy. If Trump had just given the classified documents back, and he had many opportunities to do so, Mar-A-Lago would not have been raided. There would be no reason to indict him, even though he wrongly took the classified documents home with him from the White House. They would have let him go as long as he returned the documents. But he kept refusing to do so. Then he lied about how he allegedly returned all the documents when he had not returned all the documents. I mean, he is his own worst enemy. Donald Trump is his own worst enemy. But there's more.
Yeah, actually, before you go to the more, that's another giant thing here. A year before the raid. So like sometimes the MAGA guys, because they listen to right-wing media, have gotten tricked into believing that like, golly gee, they raided him out of nowhere. And it's the deep state that are targeting him. No, they're like, please, we don't want any trouble. Just please return the national secrets. You took top secret information. We can't have it floating around in the Mar-A-Lago bathroom. And they plead with him for a whole year. And that's his top associates right there saying, we told Trump, please give it back. Then he tells the kids, tell your dad to give it back. What is he doing? And those guys can't ever get it through their thick heads. Trump is so corrupt that they're like, I don't understand why he has it. My theory all along has been he had it because he wanted to sell it. Those are the most valuable documents in the country.
So there's more. Person 16 told the FBI that Trump reacted to his warning with a weird, you're the man type of response, and left the impression that he would, in fact, return the materials to the archives. Their conversation, though, was interrupted when a Mar-A-Lago club member and a much younger woman walked up, Person 16 recalled, and asked to have a photo taken with Trump. Now, finally, the only other thing that I came across that I thought was kind of interesting as part of these filings was this. Person 16 also suggested that some of Trump's children had been enlisted in the task of persuading him to return the presidential records to the archives. The person recounted to the FBI that one of the children was told, quote, there are issues with the boxes. They belong to the government. Talk to your dad about giving them back. It's not worth the aggravation. And I'm unclear as to whether his children actually weighed in on this and tried to persuade Donald Trump to return the classified documents. What I do know is there have been cases behind the scenes where people like Don Jr., for instance, tried to convince Trump to do the right thing, like on January 6th, as the riots were underway. He reached out to his father and asked him to step in to stop the riots from happening. And so it's not far-fetched that his kids might try to give him good advice. I'm just unclear as to whether that actually was carried out.
Yeah, and people are wondering why the kids aren't at any of the trials. Well, first of all, to be fair to the kids, there's so many trials. They'd have to stop their whole lives to go trial hopping. But also, they're implicated in some of these trials, so it's kind of awkward for them. But it's funny because it's not like Donald Trump Jr. isn't unhinged or that Ivanka and Jared Kushner are good people.
Right.
But at least apparently Trump insiders view them as non-insane as opposed to Donald Trump. So you're like, all right, I gotta go talk to Don or Ivanka or about making sure this idiot doesn't steal national secrets for no reason, or at least they think no reason. All right, last thing about person 16 is, I don't know if it's Mark Meadows, his last chief of staff, but it could be. Whoever it is not a Mar-A-Lago person because they barely know Nauta. So the reason I say that is because the Mar-A-Lago people are Trump's people. They're the most core loyal people to him. They're randos that Trump picked up out of nowhere and and they've been with him for decades, etc. But the people that come in from the White House are politicians and stuff like that. And Mark Meadows, of course, used to be a very right-wing congressperson. And Mark Meadows has been so conspicuously absent for the last couple of years. And then he got charged in Fulton County. He's like, whoa, what the hell's going on? In a way that made it appear that he already had a deal with federal prosecutors. So he was like, why am I getting charged here in Atlanta, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so if it's Mark Meadows and he actually spills all the beans, because if he's cooperating with prosecutors, he's cooperating, right? And we saw in the hush money trial, which we're gonna get to later in the show, with David Pecker, who was a great friends with Donald Trump. Once you turn, you gotta give the prosecutors actual truth. So if it's Meadows and he pinpoints all of this law breaking and the fact that they took the boxes from the White House, knew they had them, knew the FBI wanted them, and still wouldn't give it back, well, that's called guilty. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.